Hello and welcome to Old Lady Plays. I'm Kate, the Old Lady. This is episode 7 of the Rambler, The Transfer Window. That's right, I'm going to do an episode entirely on transfers and weird MLS arcane rules and drafts and things like that. So there won't be any games in this episode, I'm warning you now. I'm hoping it won't be a terribly long one, so I hope you'll stick around. And enjoy the rest of the episode with me anyway, because there's some important bits and pieces going on here for the season upcoming. Let's get started. I'm gonna slip over here. First we had, well, actually no. Let's go to first. I just want to make a note of that. Note that because it will help me remember that we want to look at it. Notebook. Right. So we had the New England End of Season Awards. Let's see if we can go and look at what those awards were. Where would those be? Club, history, players. That's not helping. History notes. No. Why won't it keep a set? I saved these hoping that they would show me the actual things, but they're not. But they're not showing them to me, and that is frustrating. Alright. Well, let's just skip over to transfers. Transfer history. Woohoo! We let some guys go. Matt Turner, we lost. He was the third goalkeeper. I let his contract run out. He was taken in the waived after the waiver draft. Brian Wright, who was actually a reasonably good young striker, but was not up to the quality of the others that I would protect him in the expansion draft. So in the expansion draft, LAFC, which is a new team, took Brian Wright from us. So, Donnie Smith, Femi Hollinger-Jansen, both just surplus to needs. Teal Bunbury, same thing. Daigo Kobayashi was being transferred before I even arrived at the club. Here, on this side, we have our first pick, which was Aaron Bouchouet. Now, we traded up for that. In fact, I'm going to go back to the notes because there was actually something useful in there. Complete the trade with Chicago Fire. Right. Before the super draft, I traded 100,000 from my general allocation money, plus my crappy pick in the 2018 MLS super draft, and my first round pick in the next one, and my first round pick in the following one. That's 3 first round picks. But I expect, and this is the nice thing about the way American football works, that doing well in the league will mean that my draft picks are pretty crappy. I'm hoping that my draft picks will be in the sort of 20 to 23 range, because I'm hoping we finish in the top 4 in the league this year. So I'm taking a bit of a gamble here, but I'm gambling that these are not going to be really useful picks. Really, the top 6 or 7 teams this year in the draft got a player that they will be able to use certainly this year and maybe for in future years. The rest of them really got players that are at best going to be a backup or a fringe player. So I'm not really concerned about that in terms of that being a big loss, because we got the second pick, and with the second pick we made a point of picking this fellow who was actually the best rated person in the draft. He is smart enough, good enough already that I can use him as a winger this year. Alright, he's got terrific pace, agility, balance, lovely, great natural fitness. He's not very big, but that's okay. Teamwork, vision, flair, determination, all good enough. Dribbling, could use a bit of work on his crossing and his first touch. But, his work rate could be a little better. Passing could be a little better. Technique could be a little better. But he's 21 years old. He's got a 4-star potential, possibly. I think he's going to be good enough to play for us for some time to come. And he can play across all three positions in the front, which is useful. We don't actually use the AMC, so he'll be able to play as a winger on one side or the other. So he's going to be useful. I'm really quite happy with him. There's, let's see what else we had. We also picked Oliver White. He's surplus to requirements. We don't think he's going to be all that useful. We also picked Oliver Stahl, a center back. It says surplus to requirements. I think he's good enough that we could use him as a backup, but that's about the best we're going to get. This is the kind of player you get in the second round. Picking 38th or something like that. This is the kind of player you get at 38th. You're just not getting a really quality player. And he's not projected to make much of himself either. So it's, you pick what you can get kind of thing, but they're not great players. You're not going to get the top players below the top 5 or 6 picks. So really a top 5 or 6 pick is worth a lot, and a top 2 pick is worth even more. So I'm happy with the trade that I made. Was there anything else in the notebook? Completing trade. Oh yeah, we had, yes, we have a great youth intake. Oh my goodness, you have to see the youth intake. Where's the academy? Here they are, the 16-year-olds and the reports. Check out the potential on these ones. We've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with 3 to 4 star potential, 2 with 4.5 star potential, 3.5 to 4.5 star potential. That's brilliant. We've actually, one of the kids was good enough that he's actually called up to the team. So that was kind of exciting. This guy here, 2 stars already at fullback. He's somebody we might be able to use. So he's coming along very nicely. Great pace and acceleration. Decision making. That's nice in a fullback. Anyway, so we've got a great set of prospects looking ahead. I like the style here. Look at these. Intelligent leader, creative leader, physical shot stopper for the leader. We got some great leadership coming in these young players. So that's exciting. Was there anything else in the notebook? No, that's it pretty much for the notebook. Let's go back to the transfer history then, and we'll finish looking through that. We did this. This is the other guy that we brought in. We bought on a free transfer, but we brought him in, signed him. Wellington Polito from Brazil. Got a long history of playing in Brazil for all kinds of different teams. Noroeste, Palmeiras, Atlético Sorocaba, Palmeiras, ASA, Palmeiras, Atlético, Ponte Preta, Santa Cruz, Mirassol, and now New England in the USA. Look at the season that he had. Now this is in a lower division, but look at the season that he had in Brazil. 32 games, 7.43. Yes, it may be a lower league, but you put up quality like that, you've got something going on for you. So he's a pretty decent looking player. A lot of 12s all over the place, 12s and 14s, which is pretty good. I'm reasonably pleased with that. This is an 11 down here. I know these ones here are a little harder to see. That's purposeful. My color settings are such that you can barely see the ones that are 9 and below, or 8 and below. Somewhat see the ones that are 9 to 11, and then from 12 to 14 you can see them reasonably well, or 12 to 15 I think, and then 16 to 20 are yellow, so you can see them really well. They'll stand out enormously. I think this guy's got some. Has this guy got some yellow? Yes, he does. His pace is yellow, as you can see, so it does stand out. So it's intentional that you can't really see these ones. Don't worry about it too much. It just means they're low enough that it's not worth worrying about. Let's see. Did we have anything else? Free transfers? Not out. Released players? Nope. Staff. That's right. We let some staff go. Mike Burns, the previous director of football, couldn't tell his arse from his elbow, so he's gone. Tom Soehn, my assistant manager, couldn't tell the other guy's ass from his elbow, so he's also gone. And the head of youth development was worse than the other two. Actually, slightly better than the other two, but not good. So he's gone. And instead, we have Jay Vidovich as head of youth development, working with youngsters 18, judging player potential and ability 13-16. Very nice. We have Paul Bravo in as director of football. He's, got a fair idea which is arse and which is elbow, so that's pretty good. And Freddie Hurtado, a great assistant manager. Can't speak a word of English just yet, but I've got him on a course. And as you can see, he's got some great coaching numbers, determination level, discipline, motivating. He's also got reasonable judgment and man management as well. So I've got some good ideas, and he's a good motivator. So we'll be able to use him to take team talks as well when we can't think of what to say. So he's a real find. I'm really pleased with him. And the director of football has been bringing in all these other guys. I brought in a few, and then the director of football since then has brought in a coach and a data analyst, and I'm sure he'll carry on doing so. I've set him to have access to assigning staff. So let's see, what else things do we have to look at? The dynamics. We had kind of a revolt last fall after the season ended. After the loss to Toronto, we were in pretty rough shape. You can't see the form here anymore, but we lost those last two games. Sorry, spoiler there, but should know that by now. We lost those last two games, and it left the team in a right state. We had a couple of people who really wanted to leave. They have since gone. Both Teal Bunbury and Donnie Smith were gone. And we had another guy who was unhappy because the dressing room atmosphere was unhappy, and unfortunately he was one of the team leaders, and so everybody else was unhappy because they agreed with him. How we worked that out, as you can see we did work it out, was by getting rid of the two players that were cranky about not getting first team football, even though they weren't good enough for first team football. Got them out of the club, and once we did, that improved the dressing room atmosphere enough that the guy who was worried about the dressing room atmosphere no longer was worried about it, so he and all the people who agreed with him just sort of breathed a sigh of relief, and suddenly we're good. So that worked out. I'm glad. I kind of pride myself, and always have, even before it was called Dynamics, on managing the morale and the confidence in my team. So it's something that I'm fairly proud of, that I managed to get through a major dressing room revolt without losing my position or losing the dressing room entirely. Yes, they are a little less than impressed with my performance. I've only been at the club 6 months. I'm sure by the time I get around to this summer and I've got a year in, there'll be no problem there. It's going reasonably well. People do support me. Hello. No, they don't. Okay. A few players oppose me, but mostly are, high-scoring forwards and the captain. So yeah, that's not ideal. That's not ideal. We'll admit that. These guys are all the new guys, Bushwaste, Dahl, and White, as is this guy. So these three that got drafted have made a bit of a social group, and Wellington hasn't gotten in with anybody yet because they don't speak English. So he'll get there. But the rest of the team is all in one big group, which is pretty good. So that's a nice sign. It's the kind of togetherness that will help really maintain team unity and cohesion into the time that we need it. So that's been most of the transfer window update. The transfer window hasn't officially opened yet. I have got a couple more guys coming in, just so you can see them. We have Gershon Coffey, who was with us last year, so we got him cheap. He was valued at $500,000. We got him for $110,000 because we'd had him on loan and had paid a loan fee for him last year. So eventually, we're paying his full price, but we had already paid most of it last year. So he's got some nice stats. He's a reasonably good midfielder. He'll, take care of his business in the midfield. He'll also occasionally surprise you with a long shot because he can do that. He's got that in his locker. He's not really a guy who will, overturn the world in terms of his creativity. But he's naturally fit. He's got great physicals. His mentals are good enough. And his technicals will do. So he's a serviceable midfielder for us. And this guy here is a serviceable defensive midfielder for us in the same way. He's got some 14s in the places that matter, his pace and his acceleration included. He can do a little bit of long shooting. His mentals are terrific. I mean, just look at that up and down the entire list. His mentals 13, 12, 14. His physicals are all 13 or 14. This is one good player, and we got him for next to nothing. So I think, they're $69K. He joins as soon as the transfer window actually opens. So that's what's been going on in terms of us on this save. I'm curious how long we've been going. Wow, that's actually been over 15 minutes. So since I've been waffling more than enough, I think, for this one, we'll probably just call it there and say good enough. I am going to be shooting the next episode, the Monday episode, right after this because I'm away this weekend. So I'm shooting this on Thursday afternoon for Friday and for Monday. And starting Monday, I'll be back to making videos again. So, because I'm off to Ottawa this weekend, our nation's capital, for a political convention, which should be kind of fun. I hope that you're having a great day. I hope you don't mind dropping a like, hitting subscribe if you're not already, and, follow me on Twitter, support me on Patreon even if that's your thing. And I do hope you're having a great day and that you take care.